Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. This is Culture Uncut. I am your host, Jason Spears, and Colt fans, we've got a lot to talk about. This is Culture Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, and just like I predicted, day 2, not as exciting or positive as day 1. Some signings, not great ones in my opinion, or at least one that I completely hate. I'll get into that in a second. I just want to give some quick shout outs to some people in the Colts community. I consider like my cohorts, people that I respect and work in this space with. It's really hard to grow a small podcast, and sometimes you need to ask for help, and I certainly did. And I reached out to a few people to ask if they could maybe help promote my podcast, and they did, and didn't ask any questions. They just did it, and that's the kind of people that I love in this space, and respect, because when you have a bigger podcast or a bigger following, it's very easy to just not pay any attention to anybody else. But I've known these guys and talked to them, and they're all very good people, and I respect their work greatly. So I wanted I wanted to give them, a shout out, because they didn't have to publicly, promote my channel, and they did. So I just want to say thank you to Noah Compton from the Blue Stable and Stampede Blue, my guys Cody and Derek over at Bring the Juice, Landon from the Blue Stable and the 3-Man Rush podcast, Destin, who I've known for years and has been really, we've talked a lot through messages about stuff we're hearing, within the building, and a guy I have a ton of respect for who works for A to Z Sports and does an outstanding job, and Colts coverage. Those guys, all those guys, I appreciate greatly. You should follow all of them. They have all of them have great coverage of the Colts. A lot of different opinions, but opinions I respect, and I appreciate those guys very much, and I just wanted to publicly thank them for doing that, because I'll tell you what, guys, it's been a slog for me. It's, growing a smaller podcast is not an easy thing, and when you're doing it all by yourself and you're not super technologically savvy, it's a little bit, or not a little bit, it's a lot tougher. So, I appreciate those guys. When Luke and I did our show, obviously Luke was he was the host, and he took care of all the editing and the graphics and all that stuff. And part of the reason I think he got tired of doing it is because I did not help him very much in that way. I was very much just a substance guy when it came to the team. So, that's a lot of work, and I have no, it's just, it's nice to have, people that back you and appreciate your work, even if, obviously aesthetically, my show is not as great as these other shows, but I feel like I give a lot of good substance when it comes to not only the Colts currently, but Colts history. If you want to learn about it, that's really my thing, just substance, and it's not the prettiest or most polished podcast. But anyway, I wanted to get that out and let, the public know, and people that listen to the show, that there's a lot of great podcasts in this space, and there's a lot of great people in this space, and those are just a few of them. So thank you for allowing me to say that. And now I shall proceed into the Colts free agency. When I was recording last night, as I knew they would, they re-signed Ashton Dulin, which I think is a smart move, a great signing. I think Ashton Dulin is what the NFL is all about. He's worked his way up, become a Pro Bowl caliber special teams player, and a pretty damn solid receiver when he's given the opportunity. So I think adding him back to the fold as far as special teams wise and being able to maybe have him in the receiver room as like a fifth or sixth receiver is always a good move. I mean, you remember that play in the initial Houston game, week 1. I mean, that was a hell of a throw by Richardson, but Ashton made a great catch and cut, and it was gone. He was gone. He's a guy that can make big plays. So really glad to get him back. Now, technically, that was on day 1. So we slide over to day 2, and don't mind the Wesley French signing. I think it was a good depth move. I think, you can have him back up Bortolini. I think he played well given the opportunity when he's had the opportunity. He's not I'm not saying he's a great player, but a solid depth piece. And, really the Colts offensive line needs depth. They certainly, as I mentioned last night, my worst case scenario was where I'm going to wake up today and the Colts are going to lose Will Fries, which they did. Sadly, and I wish him the best. He's a great kid, hard worker, and he's going to do great in Minnesota. Wish we could have kept him. I loved him coming out of Penn State. I remember talking to Zach Hicks about him, and he really liked him too. And I mean, a great pick by Ballard, and a really, really good. It turned into a great, run blocking, physical player to go opposite of Quentin Nelson. So I wish him the best. He deserves the money. He earned it. Hope his recovery is going well. But I said, like my worst case scenario is I'm going to wake up and he's going to be gone. We're going to sign Daniel Jones, and then Trey Hendrickson will sign or be traded to somebody else. Well, 2 of those 3 things happen. So we get into Daniel Jones. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I hate this move. I hate it so much. First of all, I hate the price tag. I hate the amount of money it's going to count against the cap. I just hate it in every way. I don't want to say this, but he's kind of like a white Richardson. And honestly, and this is probably going to, draw the ire too, I would legitimately rather have had Gardner Minshew for $3 million, who knows the offense and was 1 play away from winning the division, saving all that money to be able to be able to use it for Hendrickson. I hate the move. There's plenty of guys out there I would have rather signed. Minshew, Mariota, even Cooper Rush, for Christ's sake. I hate the move. The price tag was too much for a guy that has struggled mightily outside of 1 year. It's just too much money. And I know people are like, oh, the cap hit's only $7 million. I don't care. It's too much. He hasn't earned that. So I hate that move. So we're on day 2, and I already hate a move that Ballard's made. And the argument is that, well, at least he's making moves. This isn't a high reward move. It's a low reward move. And it's a high risk move in terms of, what if this is the amount of money that costs you being able to acquire Hendrickson? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. They're going to have to restructure some deals, cut some guys, whatever. They have got, because I'm not going to share it, but I know for a fact the Colts are definitely still talking to Hendrickson and his agent, and there's 2 other teams involved, and they have more money, I think, than the Colts do. So the Colts have got to find a way to restructure deals. If you have to cut Sampson, do it. Because I'm telling you, he's coming off of an Achilles injury, and he's 30 years old, and it's just not worth the money. You've got Tyquan, you've got Quiddy. The problem is, if you package Quiddy in a third to Cincinnati, then you're very limited at edge. But then you can just draft an edge, because then you would be Tyquan, and then Latu and Hendrickson, and maybe Land, who I thought showed a little bit when he's gotten an opportunity. But you got to find a way to get this done. This is what they get paid for. I still think they can get it done, but they're definitely going to have to, because teams are finding a way to manipulate cap to get players. And it's like the Colts don't do it. I don't understand why they don't manipulate the cap more than they do. It's very frustrating as a fan to watch all these other teams add players when they started the offseason with little to no money, and it's simply because they circumvent the whole idea of a cap, and they manipulate it. So why don't we do that? Are we above that? I don't think so. If everybody else is doing it, the Colts should do it as well. So, look, the Daniel Jones thing, if AR can't beat him out, then it's a wrap. The season's going to be a train wreck, and it's over for all of them. Because I mean, if you're essentially admitting that Richardson isn't the guy, he can't beat out a Daniel Jones. Who, I mean, you can try to sell me on him, but I mean, he was with Dable, who's a great offensive coach, and he had one good year. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he'll turn into this great player. I don't see it. And even if he does, it's a 1-year deal. Somebody else is going to pay him. So, it just doesn't make any sense to me. None of it does. And again, if Richardson loses the job outright, which I don't think is going to happen, because if it does happen, Steichen's gone, Ballard's gone, all of them are gone. So I don't think it happens. But I wanted a guy that if Richardson gets hurt can come in and be a stabilizing force. Look, a guy like Minshew is not sexy. He's not a great player. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a gamer. He knew the offense. He found ways to win, and he kept us in a playoff hunt. And if his pass to Goodson is a little better, who knows? We might win the freaking division with Gardner Minshew. And he's going to cost probably a quarter of what you just paid. And you already know what Minshew can do. Daniel Jones, you don't know how he's going to fit into this offense, how he's going to be used. I mean, it's very frustrating. But again, I'm never going to agree with everything. That's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people like the signing. I hate it. I just hate it on every level. I would have rather had a veteran guy come in that could be a stabilizing force for him. I guess you can consider Daniel Jones a veteran player, but he's trying. I mean, I just don't like the fit. I think they overpaid, and I think Minnesota pushed them to overpay, and they did, because Minnesota's now going to go out and probably get somebody that will fit their offense and be way better than Daniel Jones would. So, and that could be Mariota, that could be Minshew, that could be a lot of people. Offensive coaches that are talented like O'Connell get the best out of players. He will look at if say they sign Minshew, he'll look at what Steichen did with him, and he'll look at the things he did well, and he'll cater the offense to that if they have to play Minshew. That's what great coaches do, and he's a great coach. And I really think I don't think they wanted Daniel Jones as bad as everybody says or whatever. I think they wanted him at a certain price, and once it got past that price, they were like, nah, we're not paying that much money for Daniel friggin' Jones. So I hate the move. It's the only move that I hate so far that we've made. And I don't like that I know, and I don't know this for sure, but I don't like that we're not doing a lot to restructure. Right. So from what I've heard, we're not doing a lot to restructure deals, or finding ways to push money down the line like other teams do. It's just, I'm bitching a lot, but I don't like the move. With all that said, and they're probably going to make the trade for Hendrickson, hopefully, while I'm on the pod. But he's made every move he's made outside the Daniel Jones move, I think, is great. I think he's done a great job being aggressive and identifying what he wanted and going out and getting it. And even though I hate the Daniel Jones move, he obviously identified Daniel Jones as somebody that he wanted. So the process I agree with. The player I disagree with. So my overall feeling of Chris Ballard is still positive because his process this year is different. He's obviously looked at what he wants and what they need, and he's going out and being aggressive and getting it. Again, I hate the Daniel Jones move, but it's the same process that he used for Ward and for Bynum, and I can't argue with the process in terms of identifying a player that you want and going out and aggressively getting him. That is fine. I just do not like the signing, and I do not like the player. By not like the player, I just mean football. I don't mean Daniel Jones seems like a great person. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't like the player in terms of talent and what he brings to the table. So I just wanted to hop on, give some quick shout-outs, give you my thoughts on day 2. Be interesting to see what happens going forward. I hope there's some restructures, maybe a cut or two to save some money. They've got to get the Hendrickson thing done. They're still in the mix. We'll see what happens. The longer it goes on, though, the less I feel confident because I think there's going to be, there's 3 teams right now, I think, and there's going to be more, I think, depending on what teams lose in free agency and what money is freed up and all that kind of stuff. So it's like when I was doing the free agency thing before. It's like such a volatile market and variables change and things can change on a dime. I'll go back to the T.Y. Hilton thing that I always get cooked for. I was told the Colts, the staff, the GM, everybody had moved on from T.Y. Hilton. And that's what I tweeted out. They are not going to resign him because the GM said, had made it clear they didn't want him back, right? And so at the last moment, Jim Irsay, calls him and says, hey, here's, I'll give you $1 million if you come back. Or not $1 million, $10 million. Sorry. At the very last second. And he signed with the Colts. And then everybody absolutely barbecued me and still barbecues me to this day about that. But if you go back and watch the interview that he does with McAfee, he said he was 2 seconds from signing with the Ravens and Jim Irsay called him. Jim Irsay went above Ballard and re-signed him. The Colts did not want him. And what I mean by that is variables change. So, Steichen, Ballard, they could be on the one accord and want a guy or not want a guy, but at the end of the day, Jim Irsay owns the team. And that's why I hate doing the free agency thing and giving insider information that I may or may not get, because a lot of the times things change, variables change, and volatility of it, and it makes you look like a moron. And I don't have the ins that Adam Schefter has or anybody else has. I just have a couple of people, and they're not on Jim Irsay's level. So things change, and, so yes, people have asked me, are they still talking to Hendrickson? Yes. Are they still in the mix? Yes. Do they still have a really good shot? Yes. But there are other teams and variables change and things change. So am I guaranteeing that we trade for Hendrickson? No. But I'm telling you, the Colts are actively pursuing him and trying to get it done. Now, whether that happens remains to be seen. I think if it does happen, our defense is going to be so good. I think it's going to be a top 10 to 15 defense, maybe higher than that if we stay injury-free. We definitely need to add depth at the defensive tackle spots, whether that's picking up like a vet like Calais Campbell, who's still solid for a one-year deal, or Grady Jarrett, or somebody, a veteran like that, and then maybe drafting a young guy to back up the 2 vets that we have starting. But this defense, I'm telling you, under this coach is going to be a lot different. It's going to be a lot better. I just hope they can stay healthy. And I just hope that, the offense and Steichen can get it together and put together better game plans going forward, because it's really going to come down to the offense. We all know that, the quarterback, and hopefully, all this going on by signing Jones, all this other stuff, maybe it'll light a fire under Richardson, but I tend to believe that if getting benched didn't light a fire under him, I don't think signing a guy is going to light a fire under him. He needs to light his own damn fire and go out there and work his ass off and get this thing headed in the right direction. Get the consistency of the short and intermediate passing game down and take that step in year 3. And remember, this kid's 22 years old. I'm still not out on him. I still think it's possible that he turns it around. He's just got to work. He's got the athletic talent. He's smart enough. All that stuff is there. He's just got to work. And as a young player, you have to learn those work habits. And I think he's learning them. I think last year was a learning lesson for him. Now he's got to come in focused and ready to play, be smart with the football, take care of his body, get his mechanics down in the offseason, study film, do all the things you need to do to be, an above-average quarterback. And I think he can take the leap. Now, we'll see what happens. I think Steichen's got to be better this year. He has absolutely got to be better for Anthony Richardson to take the next step. I've stated publicly multiple times, I think, that he should hand the play-calling duties over to Jim Bob Cooter, because Jim Bob Cooter is an established offensive coach, an established offensive mind. He's been an offensive coordinator and called plays before. Matt Stafford said that Jim Bob Cooter was the best offensive coordinator that he had, and that he's one of the smartest coaches he's ever been around. I don't think there's a drop-off there. I think Steichen needs to coach the team and allow his coordinators to call the plays and coordinate, I think, the offense or the defense, and I think that's better for the entire Colts team. Now, that's not going to happen because these guys are egomaniacs, and they want, if they're going to get fired, they want to do it on their own terms, but I think that ends up getting them fired faster. If you look at Frank Reich, it's the same type of deal. I feel like when you hire an offensive coordinator that's experienced and has that, pedigree of being a great offensive mind like JBC does, I think you allow your coaches to do their job. If you don't trust him to call plays, don't hire him. And so, I really hope Steichen thinks about that and allows JBC to work with Richardson more, call the plays. And Steichen clearly was overwhelmed last year, in my opinion. I think he needs to just coach the team. Be a CEO head coach. Sure, give your opinions on the offense and the defense and the special teams, but allow the coaches to do their job. And I think that would make things easier for him and better in the long run for the team. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's my soapbox speech about Shane Steichen going into year 3 with him as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I am feeling a little better. My throat's a little sore today, but overall a little bit better. Thanks to everybody that wish me well in the comments and stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like the Daniel Jones signing? Why not? What else do you want to see them do? Is there anybody you want them to get, to cut or restructure? Just any comments, man. I always appreciate hearing from you guys. And I'll continue to keep pumping out shows. If there's information, then I'll keep. If I hear anything about Hendrickson or there's something that I think is going to happen, I'll put my neck out. I've done it before, and it's bit me, but I'll do it. If I hear something. So because I want you guys to know what's going on in the background, and this is a big thing. I think Hendrickson is a big deal to the 2025 Colts. So with that said, I hope everybody is doing well. And have a great rest of the week. I'll probably talk to you again tomorrow. No, based on how things have started. I'll give Chris Ballard credit, man. He's been super aggressive, and he's not afraid to spend the money. But now they've got to figure out how to maneuver the cap, how to maneuver the money to continue to add talent to this roster. And that's now going to be the biggest job for him and Mike Bloom. They have to get that done. And if they do, you'll see more players added, because I really think this is a different Chris Ballard. He knows his ass is on the line. This is a totally different vibe than what we've seen the first 8 years. So I'll give him that much credit. He's gone out. He's acquired talent. I didn't like the Daniel Jones thing, but overall, I like his process this year, and I can't argue with it outside of the Daniel Jones thing, which is a player opinion, but the process is good. So that's the positive outlook that I'm taking, and hopefully he continues to do that and add talent to this roster, because this division is up for grabs. I don't know what Houston's doing. They might have to spend their entire draft on offensive line, because right now it looks like they're trying to get Stroud murdered. Like they're taking the Andrew Luck route. We want all skill players and the worst offensive line in the league, and that doesn't work. That will it might work short term if your quarterback's good enough. I don't think Stroud's Andrew Luck. I don't think he's close. But you have to protect your quarterback or he's going to get hurt, beat up, and then he's not going to want to play anymore. Because who wants to take an ass whipping, lacerated spleen, all these kind of things. So this division is winnable. It's not a great division. We all know that. The Colts have gotten better. They have gotten better, and that's the positive thing. So I'll leave you with that. Again, I hope everybody has a great week. I'll talk to you soon. This has been Culture Uncut on Free Agency Day number 2 with your host, Jason Spears.